Part 1. I proposed, and she told me she loves someone else. Hey Reddit. I've been lurking here for years, but I never thought I'd actually be the guy writing one of those long, messy relationship posts you see blow up on r/trueoffmychest or r/relationships. But here we are. This happened just a few nights ago, and I honestly don't know how to process it. I guess writing it all out might help me, and maybe it'll help someone else avoid being blindsided the way I was. So, yeah, I proposed to my girlfriend, and she told me she's in love with someone else. Let me back up a bit. I, 29M, have been with my girlfriend, Claire, 28F, for about 4.5 years. We met in one of those stupidly cliché ways, at a mutual friend's house party, where I spilled beer on her shoes while trying to squeeze past in the world's narrowest hallway. I thought she was going to murder me on the spot, but instead she laughed, called me an idiot with clumsy elbows, and we ended up talking the rest of the night in the kitchen, while everyone else slowly disappeared into drunken chaos. I don't know how to explain it, but being with Claire always felt easy. I've dated people before where everything felt like a performance, like I had to constantly be on. But with Claire, it was just simple. We'd sit in silence watching the dumbest reality shows, and it felt more comfortable than anything else I'd known. We moved in together 2 years into the relationship. Got a little apartment in the city. Nothing fancy, just a 1-bedroom with squeaky floors and neighbors who think playing EDM at 3 a.m. is a God-given right. But it was ours. We built a life there. Shared grocery lists, Sunday routines, inside jokes about the old man across the street who walks his cat on a leash. And for the past year or so, I'd been planning to propose. I'm not a grand gesture guy. I didn't want one of those choreographed flash mobs you see on YouTube, where the bride-to-be is crying while 30 strangers do a synchronized dance to Bruno Mars. That's just not us. So I thought about what was us. Coffee. Every single morning since we moved in, I'd wake up a little earlier, make her coffee the way she likes it, too much creamer, not enough sugar, and leave it on the nightstand before she had to get up for work. Even if I had to run out the door for an early meeting, I always made time to do it. It became a ritual. She once joked, "If you ever stop making me coffee, I'll know the love is gone." So that's how I planned to propose. A quiet morning, just us, coffee in bed. I had the ring tucked away for months, waiting for the right moment. Last Saturday felt perfect. I woke up early, heart racing like I'd just chugged 5 Red Bulls. I made her coffee, set it down beside her, and sat there for a second just staring. She was still half asleep, hair messy, mumbling something about 5 more minutes. And I thought, God, I want this forever. So I pulled the little box out of my hoodie pocket, opened it, and said, "Claire, will you marry me?" She blinked at me, then at the ring. At first, I thought she was just shocked. Her hand even went up to her mouth, like you see in all the cheesy proposal videos. But then her eyes filled with tears, not the happy kind. She whispered, "Oh my God!" and not in the good way. I don't remember the next few seconds clearly. My heart was pounding so hard it felt like the blood in my ears was drowning everything else out. She sat up, grabbed my hand, and said, I can't say yes." I swear my stomach dropped through the mattress. I just froze. I don't even think I breathed for a full minute. Finally, I managed to croak out, "What? Why?" And then she said it. The sentence that's been playing on repeat in my head ever since. "Because I'm in love with someone else." At first I laughed. Like an actual stupid little laugh, because my brain was trying to protect me with denial. I thought she was joking. I even said, "Ah, good one." But she just shook her head. Tears were running down her face. She said, "I'm so sorry. I should have told you earlier. I didn't mean for it to happen. I think that's when the numbness set in. Because the words were coming out of her mouth, but they didn't feel real. I asked her, "Who?" like an idiot, as if knowing the name would somehow make it easier. And when she told me, it wasn't some random stranger. It wasn't a coworker I'd never heard of. It was someone I knew. The name hit me like a brick. Evan. My best friend. Well, ex-best friend now, I guess. I just stared at her, waiting for her to take it back, waiting for the universe to rewind and give me a different answer. But she kept talking, words tumbling out like she was trying to rip the band-aid off. She said it started, innocently, that they'd just been talking more when he came over to hang out, that she didn't realize how strong the feelings were until recently. She swore they hadn't crossed any lines, that nothing physical had happened. But she admitted she wanted it to. And that was enough. I wish I could tell you I said something clever or strong in that moment. Something that put her in her place or showed her how much she hurt me. But all I did was sit there, ring still in my hand, staring at the girl I thought I'd spend my life with as she confessed she was in love with my best friend. Eventually, I just stood up, walked into the kitchen, sat at the table, staring at the stupid half-empty coffee cup I'd made her, thinking about how that little ritual, the one I thought represented our love, was suddenly meaningless. She followed me, begging me to say something. She kept repeating, "I didn't want it to be like this. I didn't want to hurt you." Finally, I said, "But you did." And that shut her up. The rest of that day is a blur. I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. I didn't even cry. I just shut down. She packed a bag and said she'd stay with a friend for a while. Pretty sure friend meant Evan, but I couldn't bring myself to ask. When the door closed behind her, I finally let myself break. I sat on the floor of our empty apartment, still holding the ring box, and I cried harder than I think I ever have in my entire life. It's been 3 days since then. I haven't heard from her, except for a short text saying, "I'm sorry," that I left on read. I haven't spoken to Evan either. He tried calling once, but I declined it. Our mutual friends are starting to notice something's up, and I don't even know how to explain it. How do you casually drop, "Oh yeah, I proposed, and she told me she's in love with someone else. Oh, and by the way, it's our friend Evan." I feel humiliated. I feel like my entire relationship was a lie. Like the last 4 years were stolen from me. And yet, part of me still wakes up in the morning expecting to make her coffee. That's the worst part. The muscle memory of love doesn't stop just because the person is gone. I don't know what's going to happen next. Do I move out? Do I wait for her to come back so we can talk? Do I confront Evan? I can't stop replaying everything in my head, wondering when it started, what I missed, how long I've been the fool. And the worst thought, the one that keeps me up at night, is this. What if she's happier with him than she ever was with me? I'll update if anything changes. For now, I'm just lost. But something tells me this story isn't over yet. To be continued. Part 2. After the proposal, I found out the truth about her and Evan. Hey Reddit. I didn't expect part 1 to blow up like it did. Honestly, I was just screaming into the void, trying to process everything. But so many of you reached out, DM'd, commented, and gave me advice, some brutally honest, some compassionate, some both. It felt comforting in a way, like I wasn't as alone in this as I thought. So yeah, time for the promised update. It's been a little over a week since the proposal disaster. I wish I could say things got clearer, but if anything, they just got messier. For the first few days, I went full hermit mode. Didn't answer texts, didn't go to work, I took sick days. But really I just laid on the couch binging garbage TV and eating whatever expired crap I had in the fridge. My phone buzzed non-stop, Claire texting, "We need to talk." Evan calling multiple times, a few mutual friends wondering if I was okay. I ignored it all. But you could only hide for so long before reality barges in. The first reality check came from my sister, Emily. She showed up at my apartment unannounced, armed with takeout, and that older sibling energy that brooks no arguments. She walked in, took one look at me, sweatpants, unshaven, surrounded by empty pizza boxes, and said, "Wow, you look like the poster child for a midlife crisis at 29. I muttered something about not being in the mood, but she just plopped down on the couch, shoved a container of pad thai into my hands, and said, "Too bad. Eat." So I did. And then I told her everything. Saying it out loud was brutal. It made it real in a way that typing it online hadn't. I kept expecting to choke up, but instead I just felt hollow, like I was narrating someone else's tragedy. When I got to the part about Evan, she froze mid-bite and said, "Wait, Evan? Like, Evan who was at Mom's barbecue last summer? Evan who helped you move that busted old couch up 3 flights of stairs? Yep, that Evan." Her jaw clenched. I never liked him. I actually laughed at that, bitterly. Well, congrats, you were right. The thing is, once Emily knew, there was no going back. She's protective to a fault, and within 24 hours, she'd basically staged an intervention with a couple of my close friends. They cornered me in my own living room and insisted I couldn't just ghost the world forever. One of them, Matt, said, "Dude, you need answers. Either she's with him or she isn't. Either way, sitting here in sweatpants won't change it." And against my better judgment, I agreed. That night, I texted Claire, "We need to talk. Tomorrow. Our place." She replied almost instantly, "Okay." And just like that, the countdown began. The next day, I cleaned the apartment for the first time since she left. Not because I wanted to impress her, more like I didn't want to look like I completely disintegrated without her, even though I had. When she showed up, it was like seeing a ghost. Same face, same hair, same nervous habit of tugging at her sleeve. But she didn't feel like my Claire anymore. She sat down at the table, and I swear the silence stretched for years. Finally she said, "I didn't mean for it to happen." I said, "Stop. Just tell me the truth. Are you with him?" She hesitated, just for a second, but it was enough. Then she whispered, "Yes." I think that hurt worse than the proposal itself. Because up until then, there was still a tiny part of me clinging to hope that maybe it wasn't real. Maybe it was a crush, or confusion, or some fleeting emotional thing. But, yes, slam the door on all of that. I asked, "How long?" She said, "Nothing physical until after I left. But the feelings, a while." That word. A while. It could mean months. Maybe a year. Maybe longer. I realized I'd never really know. I asked, "Did you ever love me?" Her eyes filled with tears. "Of course I did. I still do. Just not in the way you deserve." That was the dagger. I don't remember much after that. My voice cracked. I told her I needed her out of the apartment for good. She cried, tried to explain, tried to hug me. I pulled away. She left her key on the counter and walked out. And just like that, for years ended with the quiet click of a door. But here's the thing, Reddit. If that was the end of it, maybe I could have started healing. Maybe I could have chalked it up to heartbreak and betrayal and slowly moved on. Except it wasn't the end. 2 days later, I ran into Evan. Not by choice. I was grabbing groceries late at night, trying to avoid people, honestly, and who do I see in the self-checkout line but him, smiling, laughing with Claire. It felt like someone had punched me in the gut. I must have made a sound, because they both turned. Her face went pale. His? He had the audacity to look guilty, but not enough to stop holding her hand. I walked straight past them, abandoned my basket, and headed for the parking lot. But of course he followed. "Man, wait!" he called, jogging after me. I spun around. Don't you dare man me." He had that sheepish look, like a kid caught stealing cookies. "I wanted to tell you. I swear. I didn't mean for it to." I snapped. "You didn't mean for it. You're supposed to be my best friend. You've been in my home, at my family's table. And you're holding hands with her days after she broke my heart?" He stammered something about real feelings and couldn't fight it, but I couldn't even hear him over the roar of blood in my ears. Finally, I said, "You made your choice. Don't ever come near me again." And I left him standing there in the parking lot. That should have been closure. But it wasn't. Because the next morning, I woke up to about 20 texts from mutual friends, all basically saying the same thing. "Dude, is it true? Claire and Evan." Turns out they decided to make it official. Facebook posts, Instagram stories, the whole 9 yards. They didn't even try to keep it quiet. So now everyone knows. And somehow, I'm the one who feels like the outsider in my own friend group. The worst part? Some of them are actually taking their side. I got messages like, "Hey man, I know it sucks, but you can't help who you love." And, "Maybe it's for the best. You deserve someone who really wants you." As if that makes the betrayal okay. Emily told me to cut all of them off. "If they can't see how messed up this is, they're not your friends." She might be right. But it still feels like losing my entire support system in one blow. And now here I am, sitting in the wreckage of everything I thought I knew, writing to strangers on the internet because it feels safer than talking to the people I used to trust. But here's the kicker, the reason I think there's still more to this story. Last night, I got a DM from someone I barely know. A girl named Lily, who used to work with Claire. She wrote, "I don't know if I should be telling you this, but Evan isn't the only guy. Claire's been lying to both of you." Yeah, I don't even know what that means yet. But I'm going to find out. To be continued. Part 3. The truth about Claire, Evan, and what I learned after it all. Hey Reddit. So, this is it. The final update. I didn't think my life would ever become a 3-part saga read by thousands of strangers online. But if you've stuck with me this far, thank you. Seriously. The advice, the DMs, even the brutal honesty, it all helped me keep my head above water when I felt like I was drowning. And now I finally have answers. Let's rewind to that DM I mentioned at the end of part 2, the one from Lily, Claire's former coworker. Her exact words. "I don't know if I should be telling you this, but Evan isn't the only guy. Claire's been lying to both of you." At first, I thought it was some troll trying to stir the pot. Reddit had blown up. Maybe someone recognized the story and wanted to add drama. But something about the way she wrote it, direct, no fluff, made me pause. So I replied, "What do you mean?" She hesitated for a while, then unloaded. Apparently, back when Claire and I were still solid, she'd been a little too friendly with a guy from her office. Let's call him Dan. According to Lily, there were rumors they'd hooked up at a conference last year. Nothing confirmed, but enough whispers that people noticed. I sat there staring at my phone, equal parts numb and furious. Because if this was true, it meant Claire hadn't just fallen for Evan recently. It meant the cracks went way deeper than I ever realized. The next day, I did something I wasn't sure I was ready for. I called Claire. She picked up on the second ring, sounding cautious. "Hey," I said, "we need to talk. One last time. No lies." To my surprise, she agreed. We met at a little coffee shop near the apartment, ironic, given how coffee was our thing. She looked tired, dark circles, messy hair, like she hadn't been sleeping much. For a second, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. I didn't waste time. I just asked, "Who's Dan?" Her face went pale instantly. She opened her mouth, closed it, then whispered, "Who told you?" That was all the confirmation I needed. I leaned back, feeling this cold, detached anger settle in. "So it wasn't just Evan. How long?" She buried her face in her hands. "It was a mistake. Once. I was drunk. It didn't mean anything." I cut her off. Don't you dare minimize it. You let me plan a future with you while you were cheating. And then when you got bored, you jumped ship to my best friend. You've been lying for years." She started crying right there in the cafe. People were staring. I didn't care. For the first time since this whole nightmare began, I felt clarity. It wasn't me. It wasn't that I wasn't enough, or that I'd missed some red flag. It was her. Her choices. Her selfishness. And in that moment, something inside me finally broke free. I told her calmly, "We're done. Don't call me. Don't text me. Don't try to explain. I don't care anymore. You made your choices. Now live with them." Then I walked out. Of course, Evan tried to contact me later. He left this long voicemail about how he didn't know about Dan, and how he really loves Claire, and hopes I can forgive him someday. I deleted it without listening to the end. Because here's the truth, I don't care what happens to them. Whether they implode in 3 months or ride off into the sunset together, it's not my problem anymore. The aftermath with friends was messy. Some people doubled down on supporting them, which blew my mind, but others, once they heard about Dan, finally understood how deep the betrayal went. A few even apologized for not being there for me sooner. Emily, my sister, MVP of this whole saga, basically told me, "Burn the bridge, salt the earth, and never look back." She wasn't wrong. So I started fresh. First step, I moved out of the apartment. Packed up my stuff, left behind the furniture we'd bought together. I didn't want that baggage, and found a small place across town. It's nothing fancy, tiny kitchen, weird smell in the hallway, but it's mine. Second step, I cut contact. Blocked Claire and Evan everywhere. Deleted their numbers. Even unfollowed mutuals who couldn't respect my boundaries. Clean slate. Third step, therapy. Yeah, I finally did it. Found a counselor who's been helping me untangle not just the breakup, but the self-worth issues it left behind. It's been healing, honestly. Now, here's the part one didn't expect. I thought this story would end in bitterness. That I'd always be the guy who got humiliated with a ring in his hand. But the more distance I get, the more I realize it was a blessing. Because if she'd said yes that morning, if I'd married her, built a life with her, maybe even had kids, what then? I'd be shackled to someone who couldn't stay loyal for more than 5 minutes. Instead, I get a second chance. Painful as hell, but freeing. The ring? I sold it. Took the cash and booked a solo trip for later this year. Somewhere I've always wanted to go, but never did because Claire didn't like long flights. Spoiler, she didn't like anything that wasn't about her. The coffee ritual? I still do it, just for myself now. Every morning, I make a cup, sit by the window, and remind myself that love isn't about someone else's approval. It's about choosing yourself too. So yeah, that's the end. Claire and Evan are apparently still together, for now. Word is, people already see cracks. I won't pretend I don't feel a little schadenfreude, but honestly, it doesn't matter. They're both just chapters in a book I've finished reading. I'm writing new pages now. If you're reading this and you've been through something similar, Please know it's not the end of your story. Heartbreak feels like it'll swallow you whole, but eventually, you come out the other side. Stronger, clearer, more yourself. I know I did. Thanks, Reddit, for walking through the fire with me. End of story.